Welcome. I'm so happy to see you all. I'm Sharon Navarro, Executive Director of Acknowledge Alliance, and I'm really happy to see you all here tonight. First, I do want to do a land acknowledgement and recognize that the land we're gathering on tonight is the traditional indigenous territory of the Ohlone and Tamian Nation people. We recognize their example of community and stewardship, which continues to inspire us to this day. And I'd also like to thank our generous diamond sponsor this evening, Star One Credit Union. Really appreciate, thank you so much, Star One. Let's just give them a round of applause. And I'm honored to recognize the incredible staff and board of Acknowledge Alliance who made tonight possible. If you're part of the, yes, give them a round of applause. If you're part of the Acknowledge Alliance staff or board, can you stand or give a little wave? Yay! Woo! Thank you all for your dedication and care. You're all amazing. And to begin, I want to share a moment that captures why our work matters. When I first started at Acknowledge Alliance, I learned that one of our counselors was working with a middle school student, 8 years old, who'd been struggling quietly for weeks and months. And at first, the student barely spoke. But week after week, our clinician showed up with patience and care. And eventually, the student said something simple but powerful. I didn't think anyone at school noticed me, but now I know somebody does. That moment, which really gets me, feeling seen, is where resilience begins. And it's at the heart of what tonight is about, building communities of resilience where youth can thrive. Tonight, please look around the room, look at your neighbor, look at the person next to you. You'll see a community of people who believe deeply in the potential of all youth. And it's your generosity and your passion and support that makes our work possible, so we cannot do this without you. Because of you, students like the one I told you about, who once felt invisible, now know they are seen. And educators who felt overwhelmed know they are supported. And together we're building a future where every child can flourish. At Acknowledge Alliance, our mission is to promote lifelong resilience in children and youth and strengthen the caring capacity of the adults who influence young lives. Over the past year, I'm so proud that we reached more than 1,500 youth and educators across 27 schools. And we reached an additional 11,000 students through our work with their teachers. We provided hundreds of individual and family counseling sessions. We helped students build coping skills, emotional regulation, and stronger connections with others. And we expanded our support for educators in powerful ways. We've delivered over 4,000 consultation sessions, including 23 crisis interventions when school communities faced urgent challenges, especially common this year. And that represents, can't even believe this, 350% increase in educator support over the past 4 years. So that's just incredible. But the numbers only tell part of the story, because as I always say, and the staff has heard me say, it's quality over quantity at Acknowledge Alliance. We're about relationships. What truly matters is that students feel heard, that educators feel supported, and that classrooms become places where every young person knows they belong. And that brings us to the heart of tonight's celebration. Belonging doesn't happen by accident. It's created every day by educators like those of you in the room who show up with compassion, patience, and an unwavering belief in their students. The educators we honor tonight are leaders in creating classrooms where students feel safe to speak, to grow, and be themselves. Through the teachers' dedication, they help transform schools into communities where resilience and connections flourish. To all of the educators in the room tonight, thank you. Your work changes lives in ways that ripple far beyond the classroom. And none of this would be possible without you. Because of you, students and the teachers who care for them feel seen, valued, and supported. Together, we are building communities of belonging where every young person knows they matter. Now, in closing, I'd like to dedicate a few lyrics from the song Good Job by Alicia Keys. I heard this and it reminded me of you. You're the engine that makes all things go, and you're always in disguise, my heroes and sheroes. But I see your light in the dark, a smile in my face when we all know it's hard. There's no way to ever pay you back. I don't know if this helps it, but you're doing a good job. Don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter. You're doing a good job. Thank you so much. Let that be our reminder tonight of the impact each of you has. And now, it's my absolute honor to introduce our esteemed panel. Program Director Tracy Lyons, licensed marriage and family therapist. Dr. Candace Aurora, co-founder of the Aurora Collective. And Leo Del Toro, Director of the Bill Wilson Center, Drop-In Center. Over to you, our lovely panel. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm not used to speaking into a microphone, so please gesture wildly if it's too loud or too quiet. Or it's just right. Thank you. Thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Well, so much gratitude to all of you for being here this evening, and especially for our dear panelists that are here to bring a conversation forward that I hope we can all grow and learn from and feel grounded in terms of our purpose and values here this evening. Our opening question is one that's really dear to the heart of our work at Acknowledge Alliance. As you know, our work is founded on the belief that when a child has a caring adult in their life who believes in them and their abilities, that they can overcome adversity. Outside of the home, that adult is often a teacher. So, for our panelists tonight, I'd like to ask you both, as a young person, did you have one consistent caring adult that positively impacted the trajectory of your life? And can you tell us about that person and how they impacted you? Candace, will you go first?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Can you all hear me okay? Yes, excellent. I sound loud to myself. And if I burst into a song karaoke, just know that I'm used to having that mic and not this mic. So it's a pleasure to be here with everyone. And this question especially is so very close and near and dear to me. So I'm going to go a little bit beneath the surface and just talk a little bit more about myself. So the question has there been a caring adult in your life that's changed the trajectory of your life? And for me, that begins with my own journey and my lived experience. I'm going to go a little bit into my background. I do have a little bit of notes just to kind of guide me. The absolute answer to that is yes. I did have two adults actually, in my teenage years that really, really took me under their wings, and those two adults changed the trajectory of my life. I immigrated from Pakistan when I was 16 years old. So in transition, as you can all imagine, at that age, coming into this country, I experienced a lot of difficulties in many different ways. And one of those difficulties was being homeless, or not knowing where my food was coming from, and not knowing what the education system was in the United States. And many times I felt hopeless, I felt helpless, and socially I was bullied at school for being a new immigrant student. My accent didn't quite match, I didn't quite wear the clothes, and so I was targeted a lot of bullying in school when I came into high school. And amidst that chaos, there were two educators who really, really took me under their wings. And one of them, and both of them I'm actually blessed to still have in my life as mentors. Ms. Benz was my homeroom teacher, and Pedro was my college counselor. And these two individuals met me where I was as a human first. They consistently showed up for me in spaces where I didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't know that I could be anything in this country besides, as some of my relatives said, go find a job, make the money that your family needs. But these two individuals believed in my potential when I didn't believe in my potential. They showed me how to access college. They showed me that there was a pathway for people that looked like me. And in many ways, and I tell them this to this day, I owe them where I am sitting in this space. It's many, many ways a whole circle moment for me. Through them, I found my purpose in life. And they really are and will be always that one caring adult for me. So what that purpose looked like is my calling in education. I became a teacher to recycle my success with those children that looked like me, that felt unseen, that didn't know that they belonged. And with that, I was in the classroom for almost 10 years teaching this classroom level. And in my work there, I realized something that came so natural to me, but didn't come natural to other teachers, and that was building relationships with my students and getting to know them at a human level first. And so began my journey in now what's called social emotional learning. At that phase, I was in transition and found that there was a lack of leaders in our community that looked like us, that could speak the language, be the real people to connect with the students that look like us. And so I went into that journey and did some research in my doctoral work specifically around social emotional learning. At that time, things were just brand new. It was 2016, 2017. These were just buzzwords that the Department of Education was coming up with to make sure that they could humanize education in some way, space, or form. And so with my research, I was able to convince the district that I was working in as school leader to actually implement social emotional learning in 3 schools back in 2017, 2018, when these were unheard concepts and had to fight really hard to get there. And so believe it or not, the title of my doctoral research literally is One Caring Adult, SEL implementation in schools and how teachers are affected by that. And so that is why I do this work. It's a heart of the work that I do. And now in many spaces as a consultant now with my husband, we have a work business together. And I work now with education spaces and teachers doing that work at a much higher level than I was able to do at district schools because I was bombarded with discipline. And I'll go into a little bit more about what that felt for me as a teacher, as an educator a little bit later. But I just wanted to share that original story because I really truly appreciate the work that Acknowledge Alliance does in this space, in building up educators and building up those spaces for educators, for students to build this resilience. And so, yes, One Caring Adult for sure has changed the trajectory of my life, and in many ways I hope and pray that I've been that adult for my children in schools, and I'm very honored to be here on this journey with you all.
Well said. So just to piggyback off of that, so I'm Leo Del Toro. For me, did I have one person that was consistent? No, I did not. I had several people in my life, from my mother to just friends that I grew up with. My story is a little different. I was that student that was in the classroom that would sit in the back. That the teacher would be like, oh man, is Leo coming to school today or not? What's going on? That was me. I had a lot of behavioral issues, a lot of challenges, and when I was in school, there wasn't a lot of programs set up to provide the needs, resources that I needed. So that led me to the journey and to the position I'm in now. I'm a director of the drop-in center, downtown San Jose, where everything from drugs and alcohol to, trauma, abuse, homelessness, floods the area. And my drop-in center is there in the middle where they all pour in. And so today, being a director, if you would ask me this when I was 15 years old, hey Leo, you're gonna turn the tables and help people like yourself? No. I didn't even sit at the table. I didn't want to sit at the table with you. I was so guarded by the trauma and the things that I experienced in my life that I was like, there's no way. I can't be an educator. I can't even sit down and listen and do my homework and show up for class. I didn't have someone that was consistently disciplining me in that area. So I resorted to my own things. I fell into addiction. I fell into gang affiliation. I fell into everything that my mother said don't fall into, and that was the rebellious side of me. I'm very thankful for that opportunity that I had, that I was able to come out and now be on the other side to help a lot of young people. I work with young adults 18 to 24, and they all pour in from all over the place. It's not just young people from San Jose. I have young people coming in that are running from their addictions in Florida, in Texas, all over. So my journey was a little different. I started school late. I got into college in my early 20s, and was like, okay, let me try this school stuff. Let me, and my good friend here knows because she went to one of my college buddies, so she knows. She helped me get through math, by the way. They're like, tutor, get a tutor. No, I got Michelle. That's my tutor. So yeah, the journey's been unreal, and it's just so magical the work we do. I'm a director, but I also look at myself as an educator because I'm training the people that work for me to do this work, especially going into schools. We do tabling events in schools, and we provide the resources because the reality is a lot of our students today are homeless. They're coming out of dysfunctional homes. They have so many things that interfere with their education that they don't even get the opportunity to graduate from the same school that they started in because things are happening and they're moving from place to place. So one thing that I've learned that I carry is that all of us here in this room make a huge difference every day. Whether it's that little person that walks in and you're just like, here we go again, right? It's important that we take time out. It was said best when we first got kicked off, acknowledge everyone in your classroom. Yeah. Thank you guys.
It's really meaningful to hear each of you share your personal stories and how it ties into your professional lives and the ways that fuels you in the work that you do, professionally, but also community-wise. And so I'm just really grateful that you do what you do and you're here tonight to tell us about it. And hopefully, as you heard Candace and Leo speak, you also thought about a teacher or another adult in your life when you were young that made a difference for you and for how you're able to show up here tonight and show up for the young people in your life. Unfortunately, we do have quite a bit of need for more people to show up in this context. And so I'm going to read a few statistics before going into the next question. So recently, the 2026 California Children's Report Card was just published. And 3 particular pieces of information that stand out among many are the following. 287,000 youth are experiencing homelessness, which is approximately a 28% increase from last year. So that's across the state of California. 94% of youth ages 14 to 25 years old report mental health concerns in an average month. 94% each month. And only 52% of ninth graders report having a caring relationship with an adult in school. So those are pretty sobering statistics. So whether it is difficulty accessing mental health care or a challenge with academic pressure or social and peer challenges, educators and the educational environment is increasingly challenging for all involved. So, Leo, I would love to ask you, because you're working with many students who are impacted in this way, in your work, what are you seeing young people face right now that feels different or more urgent than in previous years?
Thank you for that question, Tracy. That's so broad. I can say I've been a director for 3 years, and every year things are changing. They're evolving, and not in a positive way. From what I see, from my side of the scene here. So today we see a lot of young people that come into the drop-in center that are struggling to get re-engaged in education. I started 18 to 24, and so a lot of our folks that are 18 have been in high school, and around 22, it's been a while since they've been back in, the education realm. So when I sit down with them and I say, okay, are you interested in going back to school? No, actually, Leo, school was really hard for me. I got made fun of, I got bullied. I had teachers looking at me, with the side eye, upset that I wasn't turning in assignments, that I wasn't participating. So a lot of what I've learned from the individuals is that the re-engagement piece to get them back into school is more challenging than we think. It's not, hey, get into school, education is powerful, which we know it is, us as educators. Education is something that is needed. But what I see and what I hear is like, I haven't been in school in so long. Where do I start? Well, take the assessments. Let's see where you're at with math. Let's see where you're at with English. I don't even know I can speak proper English. There's many people that have different challenges. And as you mentioned, Tracy, with mental health is on the rise. There are so many young people today that sit in our classrooms and sit in our presence that are struggling with so many things, learning disabilities. Everybody needs an ILP and all these things that cost us so much money when we're like, no, this is just another young person that has behavioral issues. We don't need to waste money on that. And I apologize to be so transparent, but a lot of those young people that are homeless that I see every day talk about the challenges of just sitting in a classroom setting. Oh, I don't have the latest sneakers. I don't even have clean clothes. My mom doesn't even make me breakfast in the morning. I go to school hungry and the food there sucks. I don't, it's hard for me. And, I just sit and I listen. And we provide resources. At the drop-in center, we do like college tours. So, hey, who's interested in going to school again? Let's all jump in the car and we'll buy you lunch and let's go visit a campus. And a lot of the young people are like, wow, I really love to do this. But when it comes down to it, they're afraid. They don't want to take those steps. They don't want to re-engage right away. Well, what's there for me? I don't see anybody that looks like me. I don't see anybody with tattoos and braids and all that. So where do I fit in? Where am I going to sit? I need a different kind of school. Can we tour the next school? So there is a lot that goes on with our young people that, again, it starts with us in this room, being accepting to who they are and meeting them where they're at. Thank you.
Can I ask?
Leo, everything you said, and then some like that hit deep because I've been that student, right? And I think that one of the biggest urgent things that I'm seeing, which you called out around mental health being so important, is also an awareness, something new, that our children are actually willing to get more mental health supports in many ways. The stigma around that is starting to dissipate, which is huge. in our society, and that's an opportunity for me in that space, right? Like as educators, how do we create that space around mental health and bring in those resources, being that the struggle is really, really so real, right? And so I just wanted to call out that mental health piece is also an opportunity for us as educators to bring in those resources into our classrooms and into our communities, really. Yeah. Thank you.
Wow. So a few things are really sitting with me from what each of you have just said. Leo in particular, all of the different ways that young folks show up with personal challenges or community challenges or family challenges. What's not in their way is welcoming and access to the drop-in center. And so they may be feeling unwelcome or like they don't fit in other places, but that sounds like you and your team work extraordinarily hard to make sure that's not the case when they come to the Bill Wilson Drop-In Center. And what a gift that is when so many other places feel like the doors are closed or the not fitting in, what it means to actually be welcomed somewhere. And so I want to use that as kind of a launching point to our next question, which is about belonging, because I think what that really does is it creates a place for belonging, and what a gift that is for young people. So here's our question on belonging for you, Candace. Belonging is often talked about as something that feels good, but why is it essential for resilience and well-being, especially for young people navigating adversity?
Thank you, Tracy. And I think, Sharon, you said it really well in your talk in the very beginning in the remarks about how belonging creates that being seen piece. And I want to lean in a little bit more into that. Often belonging is that woo-woo word, that feel-good word that people just throw out there nowadays, right? But in truth, belonging for me is actually the foundation of building resilience and well-being in many ways. And Sharon, you talked a lot about that in this example of the student that you shared, and I sat there and was like, well, that was me in many ways. And so what that does for me, at the core of the word belonging to me, raises 3 questions for someone. And those 3 questions are, am I being seen? Am I being valued? And am I safe in this space? Those 3 fundamental questions, in many ways, shape the way adults show up, shape the way that, for sure, our young people show up into classrooms, and then the way that they navigate those challenges in their lives. And with that comes the student experiences. You talked about yours, I've talked about mine, and not feeling connected and what that feels. And so when a student experiences belonging, they're more open to learning. They're more open to talking to their teachers. They build those deep relationships and come from a place of authenticity. And in that, what happens in that unique moment is that opens a door to resilience in many ways, because if a child is open to sharing their feelings and how they're showing up in a space, and the adult takes the time to actually lean and share their own experiences, which in many ways, my lived experience was in many ways in my students, because they saw myself and they saw them in me. And so in that moment, that's when resilience turns into well-being, that consistent showing up and not being isolated. That's the feeling of being seen and that feeling of that belonging in those true connection moments. For me, those consistent adults were the 2 adults that I had mentioned. And for you all, they may be different, but what they did do in that moment is create a safe space for you to be heard and to be seen. And then on the other hand, when we don't have that, and our children don't have that state of belonging, we see our young people disengaging. And those behaviors show up in many different ways, right? Not having good attendance in school, or being back in the classroom, or getting into fights, or in many ways getting bullied for different things around the way they look, the way they sing, the way they act. And the lack of belonging creates that trajectory and that stereotype that people say, what's wrong with that student, right? Why aren't they performing? And not thinking really about what is that child's need. And so in this space, I've seen a little bit of shift in this movement, and that makes me very happy with the systemic barriers, right? And so the state of California and the Department of Education is very intentionally now trying to create multi-tiered support systems where SEL is ingrained in different classrooms and different practices, where that was not the case. Because now there's research, there's evidence that teaching SEL in classrooms can create that sense of belonging. And so it gives me hope. It gives me hope because belonging is not just no longer like a woo word, but it's actually being put into practice into our communities and into our teachers in our classroom.
Do you have anything to add? Oh, sure. You want to share the mic with me? She's great. I can sit with her all day. Yeah, just to piggyback on what you said, we are seeing little open doors that are opening up a little bit at a time, right? And as educators, I think it's important that we continue to keep those doors open for our young people to access. So again, one thing that we do is we go into the schools. We'll go into your classroom if you want us to. We'll set aside a time to meet with those students and whoever's advocating on their behalf to support them. And does it always work? Of course not. But consistency is key with us as educators. We are the frontliners. We're the ones that these young folks are looking to us like, is my teacher gonna say anything to me because I'm sitting in the back seat? That was me, like, I wasn't sitting in the back seat because that was my favorite seat. I just wanted to see if someone was gonna acknowledge me. If someone was gonna say, hey, Leo, come up here. That never happened. But eventually with some folks that I had in my life, hey, come sit with me. Friends would be like, come sit with me. And man, I don't know, the teacher looks at me weird, but that was, as a student, that was my own insecurities. It wasn't what the teacher was doing. The teachers are great. What we do is hard work. I feel that, many of us are called, and only few are chosen to do the work that we do. So, it starts with us, and what we do is amazing. So everyone pat yourself on the back. You're an amazing teacher. Thank you.
Guys, just one last thought, and Sharon, you said it again, is in the end, resilience, for me, it doesn't grow in isolation. It grows in relationships. And that relationship is just the key to everything that we're all just saying here. And if you're going to take away anything from that today, is just that. That's it. Just those genuine relationships. And that's what creates a sense of belonging.
And really what you're speaking to is that belonging is a basic human need, and that we all deserve it, and that it's something we can all give to each other by saying, hey, I see you. Hey, come sit with me. Hey, how are you? No, really, how are you? Yeah, and so it requires that we see ourselves in each other. It requires that we are accountable to each other. And it requires that we have responsibility to elicit that in one another and build community together in that way. So, you've spoken some of this already tonight, but just to close with our final panel question, I think it's really important that in times of social, political uncertainty, that we make the specific and deliberate choice to center hope. I would like to ask each of you where you are seeing signs of hope when it comes to helping young people feel seen, supported, and connected.
So hope is huge, and for the young adults that I work with, there's not a lot of hope there. What we do to make sure, though, that we are implementing that into their lives is as soon as they walk in the door, we're saying, hey, it's good to see you. Hey, where have you been? I haven't seen you in a couple days. how are you? You know, a lot of people say, hey, how are you? And you start talking, they're like, oh, I didn't want to hear all that. Because it's so natural to us, hey, how you doing? Oh, I didn't really want to sit here and have a powwow with you. So we make sure that we are implementing that acknowledgement. And so the signs that I feel that we're seeing is that for all the young people that we interact with, we know people come and go in our lives. Some stay for a little bit, some go. I know when I was teaching a while back, years ago, it was important to build a rapport with that individual while I had them in my classroom. Because I wanted to make sure that they were going to be able to take hope, resilience, all of that with them. And what I call a little toolbox. Putting in those tools so that when they were out there transitioning or getting their first job or their first college course, that they can look back and be like, oh yeah, I remember Leo and her team taught me this. Or, you know, we gave them something, we gave them a platform. For some time, we were those pillars that were holding them up. Because a lot of our young people that come to school, that is their home away from home. We're providing them a meal, we're providing them a safe space. So that safety to them is everything when they're coming out of a home where there's not safety there. That's the reality of a lot of our students as well, that are trying to be resilient. They want to be hopeful, they want all these things that they're not always receiving at home. And they say, well, home is where the heart is. Well, there's no heart in my home, Leo. Oh, okay. So tell me what that looks like and what that would look like for you. How can we provide that for you? So hope is something for me that we can continue to model and continue to show up with consistency, not just say, how are you? And then they start talking and you're like, okay, sorry, I gotta get back, I gotta do this paperwork over here. Did you turn in your homework? Did you understand it? Well, I actually have a question. Okay, can we meet after class? Can we schedule that? Because we are very busy as well. You know, we're very busy as educators and we got more work piled up on our desk than we know what to do with sometimes. And I'm a director, so I got 2 piles. So, you know, and sorting through that. So, you know, just showing up for our young people and just being there. And I think that's a lot of what they need. That's a starting point for them to learn to be resilient and stand on their own 2 feet. Thank you.
And just to piggyback off of things you said, Leo, for me, where I see hope now is that intentional shift in what's wrong with this child to what can we do to support these students. That's happening in this moment, and we're all part of that change and that shift, and our cry for system breakdown to then begin a system that actually works for us. Even though some powers that maybe are trying to dismantle the California Department of Education, we'll talk about that. But just that shift that's happening politically is just so important because we know, and we don't want to acknowledge this, but we know that our funding for schools, right, is just so pivotal. And so we put funding into those things that we get funding for, right? So whether it's language access, whether it's special ed, but now there's access and funding for SEL. In many different MTSS, multi-tiered support systems that are now being put into schools. That's a hope, that's a shift for me. Because till we can dismantle from upwards, within, around, all the above, like we can't dismantle these structures to rebuild the ones that we want. And I'm starting to see a shift in that dismantling of those structures, and we're part of all of that movement, you guys. I see hope in Acknowledge Alliance. I see hope in the work that in these spaces that you all create for all of the educators that have these shared struggles. So for me, hope comes in our collaboration and the conversations that start here.
So now we have some time for Q&A. If there are folks that would like to ask Leo or Candace a question, Sharon is going to bring the microphone around.
Yes. Do we have would anyone like to ask our panelist question? Yes.
Hi, thank you for this. This is, really amazing panel to see. I guess my question is, as someone who's not an educator, how do you kind of approach reaching out to students who really need? Because I imagine, there's some students you can see they're struggling, but maybe it's not the right time. Sometimes you don't want to force that's a problem when they're not ready, right? And so how do you give them the space to come to you but still be present there in a way that doesn't overwhelm them? How do you build that balance?
Can I take that?
Great question.
And I can just start just for me, in many ways, I actually intentionally sat in my office and had these same conversations with parents who could not communicate with their children because they didn't have those relationships and that trust. At the end of it all, and I'm going to say it again, relationships are the heart of it all. How do you build trust? Don't worry about, what the outcome of that conversation is. Just show up as you are. And in many ways, till we make ourselves vulnerable as adults, how can we expect someone who is younger to open up and make themselves vulnerable? And so I would just recommend that start with your story, start with what you'd want to share, what you're comfortable sharing, and create that safe space to open up that conversation with the young people that you're working and serving with.
Thank you. That was great. For us, I have a team. It's a called outreach team that I send out to the community, and we hand out resources. Obviously, our goal is to reach every individual that we know and some. So a lot of it too is networking, showing what you do. We hand out flyers, we hold events. A lot of the kids that come into the drop-in center are like, oh, my friend was just in here. So it's a lot of networking. It's a lot of, reaching the folks that are hard to reach. And so what we do with outreach, we go into like encampments. The people are like, oh my God, no, I'm not gonna go in there. Well, I am. So there's some of us that are willing to go that extra mile to go in there. I hire a lot of people to work for me that have lived experience. That kids can come in and they, oh, I can connect with you, Megan. There's a similarity there. Because also too, I'm a firm believer that if you can't build rapport with these young people, then you're not gonna get through to them. And they're not gonna open up to you. They're just gonna look at you and listen to you talk and be like, what are you saying? I don't understand what you're saying. But if you, an icebreaker, and I'll give you guys a little tip here, what I do with my kids. I mean, obviously I fit in. People look at me like, oh, are you a client? I used to be. and I'm not gonna wear a suit and tie because I wanna blend in. I don't wanna look, because that kind of intimidates our young folks. So the tip is just be yourself. Just be yourself. We all have a great story. Well, Leo, I didn't, jump off bridges and whatever like you into the ocean. I didn't grow up in Santa Cruz. It doesn't matter. Where did you grow up? Talk about you. And it's so refreshing. And the young people can smell, believe it or not, they can tell who's real and who's not. So don't sell that fake Prada, those fake shoes, because they're gonna know. Sorry, Megan. They're gonna know, So start there. Start there. Thank you. Do you want to add so much?
Does anyone have any other questions? Yes. Lowell, our board chair.
So my question is, you talked about being bullied, where kids are bullying other kids, but do you find that some of the kids that are being bullied, they don't want to, that's the way they want to be seen, it's like they're protective of, I don't want to be that kid, and how do you handle that?
You brought the bullying kid.
I totally did, because I've been on both sides of the equation, right? Because I've been bullied myself in the system, and then as a teacher, saw it in the classrooms, as principal, dealt with it all the time. And at the end, what I really found out in all of my work, guys, is usually the person who's doing the bullying is being bullied somewhere in their life. And so that's their coping mechanism. And so my conversation started with myself first. I would share my stories with them, and just as we talked about relationships and creating that safe space, is pushing that space for them to share where they are. And many times I've had restorative conversations in my office as a principal where it began with me first sharing my story, and they're like, really, that happened to you? I was like, yes, that happened to me, and this is what happened after that, and this is what I did about it. So to the end of all of that is a true conversation with the bully, right? And figuring out why are they acting the way that they're acting. And then to the victim where the harm is, right? And that's the other part of that equation, is that trauma that creates. And so in many cases I've had separate conversations with both individuals to kind of see what that emotion was that it created, bringing them back together to have like conversations. I felt this way. And those restorative practices, I've actually had students who've been in fights being best of friends after. Really, no joke, because of restorative practices and real conversations about life, about trajectory, where are you going from here, where do you see yourself, and allowing them to dream the dream that they don't really have the opportunity sometimes within their own homes. Students feeling adversity, feeling trauma, homelessness, and all drugs and domestic violence and all those things that I've had to deal with personally as an educator, all of at the crux of it all, within our classrooms, that is probably the only place that we can intentionally create a safe space for our children, because that's not going to happen in society, it's not going to happen at home, unfortunately. So what can we intentionally do as adults to create that space for all of our labeled kids, whatever those labels are?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any more questions? Questions for our panel? Yes.
I have, this is our Vice Chair, Susan. Hi everyone, thank you guys for coming. So, okay, we love our children in the community. We may not necessarily have access to them, or maybe we do as educators. What's something big and important and useful we can do to help all those kids out there to achieve their goals and, you know, get their sense of centeredness and belonging?
That's deep. Thank you for that. Well, there's a lot of things that we can do. Doing this right here, coming together, is the first step I feel that we can do as educators and, you know, people that work in the field and stuff. I think showing up and being consistent, being honest with our own lived experience and our own backgrounds, sharing our culture with one another. Sorry, dude, my daughter's supposed to talk. You know, just being present and holding events. Again, keeping that door open for our young people to feel safe, providing a safe space for them to walk into and feel accepted, feel acknowledged, and, you know, praised. Just meeting them where they're at. A lot of times we want to say, you know, hey, Billy, I need you to catch up. I need to meet with you after school. And right away that kid's like, why? Why just me? So you want to hold like groups of what we do with the young people that are struggling with school. We have little tutoring groups. And we don't say, hey, I know you need some tutoring. We post something on the wall and we let them know where it's going to be and the time. And if they can make it, they can make it. And if they can't, they can't, right? Because we also want to let them know that it takes two. I'm here when you're ready to come and talk about goals and where you want to be. It's hard for young people. They have so many things going on in their minds. The young people I work with, I mean, some of the stories would blow your mind. You'd be like, that sounds like an after-school special, or that sounds like something on social media. And as you know, that's a whole other topic. Social media plays a huge role in our young people's lives right now. They'd rather be, I asked a kid the other day, so do you know like all the planets, you know, whatever? They're like, I don't, but I know someone who does. And I was like, who's that? Google. Let me Google that real quick, right? Oh my God, let me YouTube that. Okay, but I still like said, okay, yeah, go ahead, Google it. And then they're like, okay, hang on, let me search. And so many things come up. So it's not just one answer. It wasn't just one thing that popped up in the search engine of all the planets. It was like all these other things I had no idea existed. So our young people are great.
Just a quick thought that as you were speaking, one of the things that I hear a lot is like, this generation of kids. Like, how many of you guys have heard that? Like, this generation type statements, right? Okay. So for our folks that consider themselves like older generations like myself, there's, I'm sure our parents before us and their parents before us and then before us, they also said these kids and this generation, right? I'm pretty sure that's a repetitive pattern in our society. And so one urge that I have and one calling and just one thing I would recommend that, if you're not in educational spaces and you see someone on the street and they're looking like they're going through something, to pause and just say, hi, how are you? But don't expect like a good response, because the real response is going to be like, this person doesn't care, because they're used to that, right? And so to push a little bit and say, well, I've had a bad day, and just kind of share a little bit about yourself, because, and again, I'm going to come back to, it's that small moments of care and the small intentional check-ins about how are you really, that will get you to those big spaces. And so that's for parents, that's for adults that work with children. That's going to be the thing that I'm going to say to you, and it kind of feel like a preacher preaching up here, but that is my sermon, y'all, is if one thing you can do is to just be authentic to yourself, meet the kids, meet the young people where they are. Even if that's a version of you that you have far forgotten, bring that back and meet them where they are, because you once were a child too, and I'm pretty sure that whatever that version of you back then felt a lot of things that our young people are still feeling, unfortunately, to this day and age. And so just remember those days and share those moments with the kids, and they'll open up.
Yeah. So good. One more thing.
Okay, and one final response to your question is that it's really important to find where you do have access. And so you might not have a classroom of students, but you might have a next door neighbor with young children. You might not have children or grandchildren of your own, but you may have community members in your spiritual community who have young children. And so find the places where you do have access, and strive to be one of those adults for the young people. And knowing that we can't be that person for all children. And so we really need to be part of a community of people that are committed to seeing young people as whole beings and treating them with respect and building places of belonging. And so maybe if that young person doesn't really connect with me, they're not really into my new glasses, they're not so cool, that would be my child talking. Maybe there's somebody else, maybe there's Leo with the braids, and he's gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna talk to you. So we have to have communities of folks that are willing to be those people, and we have to build those connections, and we have to really lean on each other. So I think it's both providing that direct support and providing the connections in our networks and our communities, and then just knowing that we're all gonna do the best we can, and sometimes that's also gonna mean donating to your favorite nonprofit organizations. Thank you.
Well said, well said. Do we have time for one more question? Oh, here we go.
That is my husband, y'all, so I will not be answering this question.
Are you sure?
Just kidding. Go ahead.
And actually, my question is more for the staff of the Knowledge Alliance, speaking to your call to action. This is not planted, but we're here, and the number one reason children visit the ER in this state is mental health reasons. So the number one reason kids go to the emergency room is mental health. What do you all need as a nonprofit? I mean, it sounds like money, which is good, and we can all get whatever we can, whether it's $5 and $5,000. What else do you need from us? We're here.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a great question. I always say, no money, no mission. So, and we do receive lots of requests for volunteers, goods, and the truth is, we do need funding. We definitely need your support, like and support us. Come to these events, tell friends about them, serve on our board, tell your friends to serve on our board. Those are the types of things. Hope that answered your question. Not to sound too mercenary, but we do need money to run our program so that we can offer below market rates for the schools that work with us, and pay our amazing staff. And so really we do, and I know we're so thankful to the sponsors that are here tonight. And all of you for being here. We need your presence, your community. You being here is, I want to say, it isn't, no money, no mission, but however, your gift of time and treasure, that's really valuable to us. So thank you for asking that.
Great question.
Great question.
Any other questions? We have time for one more. Or we can transition out to the next. Doesn't.
Oh, this is
I work at Career College with the Justice Impacted Program, helping them come back to school. And we try to find so many resources. And once you have a resource, how long do you get to give it to one person? How long does it last for them? Is it only when they're at your program? Does it last if they're not still coming to your program?
That's good. Thank you for that question. That's a really good. I'm a rookie with mics.
It's all good.
Try not to karaoke. Don't play my song. So what we do, because we only receive, speaking of funding, is for ages 18 to 24. So if you have any folks in college, 18 to 24, you can send them to us. And the funding that we receive is the funding that we put back out into the community. So if you have an individual that needed like a backpack, or they needed a place to stay, that's what Bill Wilson Center is known for, housing. Getting you into a housing program, and working with you to see you, coaching you. So if they turn 25 tomorrow, they would age out. But until then, between 18 to 24 that we have them, the services are there.
Yeah.
Well, I do have students that come from South.
Send them my way.
Because I do have students that come from San Jose
Okay.
to Cabrillo, so that's good to know.
Send them my way. We'll give them we give them a bus pass. We send them up with, school supplies, backpacks. A lot of my kids ask me for shoes. They ask me for my personal shoes. I can't give those away. But I have. A quick story. I had a young girl come in. Her shoes looked like they were talking. If you're a sneakerhead, you know what I'm talking about. Holes in her shoes. I took off the shoes I had on my feet and I gave them to her. And those of you that know me, I'm not to share my shoes. So it was an impactful moment. But yes, if they're in San Jose, even if they're in Santa Clara, if they're, we actually have services now in Santa Cruz. Let them know about us, and I can give you some resources and suppliers, and you can hand it to them.
I think I saw one.
She answered my question.
Awesome.
Oh, okay.
Participate. Any more questions for our amazing panelists? We're not seeing any right now. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. You all have been engaging and really, really appreciate it. Tracy, thank you. And College Alliance, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Linda.
Is there a stand for this? No. Oh. Okay. First I was there,
now I am here. And standing here where I am right now, I am so pleased to invite my dear colleague, resilience consultant Cherie Clark. Yes. That was caught on video. I want you to know.
I asked her not to do that.
And Cherie is going to present our Educator of the Year award.
Okay. All right. Whew. I'm not, don't look at me, because if you cry, I'm going to cry. Can you guys hear me? Is this okay? A little bit closer? I hate using microphone. I am so excited to introduce our first honoree of the evening, the recipient of this year's Teacher of the Year award, Miss Mariel Islas Lopez Moraes. And forgive me, I'm going to try to do the whole proper speech thing and look up as I read, but I really want to say all of this because this educator is just a gem, okay? As the resilience consultant at Columbia Middle School, I have had the pleasure of getting to know Mariel over the past 2 years through one-on-one consultation, group chats, group check-ins. Shout out to my other CMS family that's in here. And her participation in our BIPOC resilience group. As a team, during our deliberation around these awards, there were many educators that stood out. There's a lot of amazing educators in the communities that we work with. But for me, there was one name that just kept standing in the front of my mind, and that was Mariel's, okay? She's amazing. And I kept going over the criteria. Who is this person? And it was like, Mariel. Mariel is a lifelong learner. Because as we know, learning is a process and it's a journey. And she's someone who does the interpersonal work and self-reflection needed to lead by example. And she does that for her amazing students. By championing her own journey, both personal and professional, she is a source of inspiration and model for her students and anyone who has had the privilege to connect with her. I have watched her share moments of vulnerability with her students, many of whose families share social and cultural experiences similar to those that Mariel has gone through. Through some of her most challenging moments this year, Mariel has gone through the ebb and flow of life, and let's be honest, life has been lifing lately for everybody, okay? However, she has gone through these challenging moments with such courageousness and with such grace. And despite what life has thrown at her, she has always shown up for her students. No matter the day, no matter what she's experiencing, she shows up for them. Her commitment not only to their academic growth of her students, but also their social, emotional growth as well. It has been such a joy to witness that, being able to see how present she is with them every single day she's on that campus. Her creativity in the classroom, from lesson plans, class projects, and the warm, inviting space that she has curated for these young people is nothing short of awesome. As a social studies teacher, there is so much new information that students are accessing for the first time. And Mariel has found a way of correlating the historical information and events to current times. Themes, modernizing the approach for understanding so that her students can reach, so that she can reach the minds of her students in a way that it works for them. And with so much happening in this social and political climate, Marielle has made sure to maximize opportunities for encouraging and facilitating critical thought and dialogue. She holds space for and tends to her students in a way that not only has she gained their trust, but what I believe is a permanent place in their lives as a foundational relationship. That is part of their constantly evolving village of support. She grounds them. She makes sure that they are seen in who they are and what they have to offer, not only their classroom, but their families and their community. So, being able to support you, Marielle, has been a joy, okay? And it's been a highlight of my time as a resilience consultant. So, with that being said, I'd like to welcome this year's Teacher of the Year honoree, Miss Marielle Islas Lopez Morales.
We also have a certificate of recognition from the Senate in honor of your excellent work.
Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Girl, where are you going? Where's my head? Sorry. Well, so I was actually really nervous when I got told that I had 5 minutes to say things. So I first want to start off with, good evening, beautiful people. Like I said earlier, I want to make it known that I'm a June Cancer, and indeed a very stereotypical crybaby. So if I start crying, this is my apology to you. First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for coming and taking a part of your day to celebrate educators and to support Acknowledge Alliance. Acknowledge Alliance and the on-site support they provide to teachers has been crucial to my survival as an undocumented educator within the current political climate. I am so honored that they have chosen me as an honoree, and I must admit that I'm still in shock that I'm standing before you tonight. I want you to know that this is not only because of my work and dedication to my students, but also a testament of the work and dedication of the amazing Black, Indigenous, people of color, especially women, that I have encountered in every stage of my life leading up to this moment. To my girlies from UCSB who couldn't be here with me today, who taught and demonstrated what unconditional community and sisterhood means. To Irene and Briseth, for inspiring me to become an educator that leads with courage and love. To Robin and Cherie, for always, oh man, I can't see this anymore. For always believing in me and supporting me when I didn't believe in myself. To my fofoqueiras from CMS. And for those that don't know, fofoqueiras is chismosas because we have Portuguese club. Thank you for always reminding me to smile when the world feels gray. To my husband, who packs my lunch every day and makes sure I am fed. And to my mommy for leaving her home, taking a risk, making the journey to an unknown country to ensure I had access to the education she never received. Lastly, and definitely not least, I just want to thank all my amazing students who are incredibly smart and insightful. I feel so honored to have been a safe adult in which they, thank you so much. I really need that. Wait, where did I leave off? Thank you. Okay, I feel so honored to have been an adult in which they shared pockets of their life with and felt safe in my classroom to explore, expand, and question their worldview, all while teaching me to become a better human being, while teaching me how to learn Portuguese, and for showing me that the world is going to be all right and that the future is bright. Gracias a todos y buenas noches.
Wow. Thank you, Marielle. So much. We're going to transition here to our award for Principal of the Year. It is my honor and to have had the pleasure of partnering with Patricia Alcocer, Principal of Adelante Selby Spanish Immersion School. Initially, our staff worked with Patricia as part of the 4th grade team of teachers hosting Project Resilience social emotional learning lessons in their classrooms. She played an important role with the SEL team, demonstrating to her students the importance of SEL skills for everyone, not just kids, but grown-ups too, and reinforcing those skills between sessions. In Project Resilience, we explain that character strengths are the positive parts of our personality and are the keys to being our best selves. We all have these strengths within us. Some come naturally, while others continue to develop. In Patty, we see her character strengths of perseverance, social intelligence, and creativity in how she collaborates with our team, both inside and outside of the classroom. I also want to highlight 2 key SEL skill sets she brings to life every day as principal of Adelante Selby: teamwork and problem solving, gratitude and joy. So first, teamwork and problem solving. We always emphasize to students in Project Resilience that problems do not need to be solved alone. Even when we have practiced all of the mindfulness, all of the coping skills, and all of the friendship and teamwork skills, we still may be faced with a problem that feels too big, too scary, or too confusing to tackle alone. This is when we need to call on our resilience team. As school principal, I have seen Patricia connect with resilience consultants on behalf of teachers struggling with classroom dynamics, students experiencing hardship, and school staff managing difficult personal situations. She understands that communities serve their purpose when everyone is connected to care, and she uses her position as principal to make sure people know that care is available and that they are deserving of it. Gratitude and joy. I happen to have had a meeting scheduled with Patricia in January of this year, and I casually asked if she was planning to attend a Super Bowl party. Not only did I get a chance to learn about a long-standing tradition she has of enjoying each year's Super Bowl game with friends and family, I also heard Patricia's plan to partake in the Super Bowl events in San Francisco ahead of the game. So I hope it's okay that I add this part to the story, but I think it's an important part. Patty shared with me that she planned, get this, to take a day off of work to go enjoy the festivities. And not only that, the front office staff at Adelante Selby knew of her plans and they were encouraging her to do this. With love and care, they were celebrating her decision to take a day off just for herself, just for fun. Now that's what I call building a culture of gratitude and joy and leading by example. All of this is to say, Patricia Alcocer embodies the skills and values of social emotional learning. She is building a school culture of care and a community of teachers and scholars who are accountable to each other. She leads by example through her dedication not only to excellence, but also to joy. Thank you, Patricia, for your outstanding leadership as a school principal. It is an honor to partner with you and an honor to recognize you here today.
Just want to present the award.
Okay.
Whoops. To you, Principal of the Year.
Thank
Very
you.
much. And we also have a commendation from the State Senate in recognition of your amazing work.
Thank you
very
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you so much. And Mariel, I'm a Capricorn, but I'm also a Chiona. So I said I'm also a Chiona, but I'm a Capricorn.
We're on opposite ends, girls. Sister signs.
There we go. Receiving the honor tonight has both been very humbling and deeply meaningful, and I want to begin by thanking Acknowledge Alliance for this recognition. It's been a pleasure to work with Tracy and bring social emotional learning to our 3rd through 5th graders, and this year we've had the privilege to work with Cherie, and she has made quite the impact on our students. She is currently working with our 5th graders, but I do have to say, I constantly have 3rd and 4th graders asking when Miss Cherie is coming back to their class. So your energy is just infectious, and I appreciate every time you're on campus. I look forward to seeing you because you're just a positive light on our campus when you're there. I want to acknowledge everyone here tonight that has supported me along this journey. Your presence means more than I can fully express. Many of you have been here when my first days of Adelante as a 1st grade teacher, and you have been with me ever since. When we're building, we're just not building systems and structures, but a shared vision of what we can really do as a staff for our students. And you believed in that vision, and you continue to show up every day for our students. And your dedication, your resilience, and your heart just shows up every day. To my Adelante team, this recognition just doesn't belong to me, but it also belongs to you. The work we do is not easy. The work we do requires patience and compassion and unwavering belief that our students are important and they can do it. I've seen firsthand the way you show up. You create a safe and supporting environment, and that is the true measure of success. You are the village that our students need, and I would like my staff, because I have a big group of them, I would like all of you to stand up, please, because this is just not me. So my whole staff that's here tonight. Thank you for always supporting me and some of the crazy ideas I have, but thank you for bringing me back or pushing me to do that. I also want to take just a moment to thank my parents and my family. My dad, my nephew, and my sister are here with me tonight. The sacrifices that you've made have brought me here. Your unwavering support and encouragement and belief when I have those imposter syndrome things going through my mind. Every day you tell me I can do it, and you push me to do it because you believe that I can do it. Then I know that I can do it. You've stood by me through long hours and challenges and tears through this first year of being the principal, and I carry your strength with me always. And finally, to our students aren't here today, but my students, they're the reason that we are here. You inspire us. You inspire us to keep growing, to keep learning, to strive every single day. And the award is not the finish line. It's a reminder that the responsibility we carry and the impact we can make together is impactful. So I'm incredibly proud to be part of the Adelante Selby community, and I look forward to continuing this work with all of my staff, but also with Acknowledge Alliance. So thank you so much.
Okay, I'm back. All right. So, let me get there we go. So, this next honoree, oh dear, sure you get it together. Okay. It is such an honor that I get to introduce this next person. Such an inspiration to me, her staff, her leadership has been just so beautiful to see. This next award is the Outstanding Educational Leadership Award, and we are honoring Miss Terry Kemper. She is the preschool director for Mountain View Wisman School District. And as founder and director of the beloved preschool program, and as an educator that has been associated with the program for 30 years, 11 as a teacher, and 19 years as a director. Acknowledge Alliance couldn't be more delighted to present Terry with this award. Acknowledge Alliance is honored to have had so many of our staff work closely with Terry over the last several years in our partnership with Mountain View. As a newer member of the Acknowledge Alliance team, though, I haven't had as much time as others, but it has been a pleasure to work and collaborate with you, with your teachers and your students. Even though I'm new to the team, not so new, it's been 3 years, but I joined in the joy of knowing and working with Terry, and am proud to be a part of the affectionately named Terry Fan Club. Yes, we have a fan club. Okay, we fan for you, Terry. Before I get into the reasons why Terry is beyond deserving of this award, let me provide some of my perspective on leadership and the experiences I've had that have shaped my perspective. And we've had many conversations about our work experience. And I just, one of the joys of connecting with you, because you get it on so many levels. For some of you know, I have a background in social work, social services. And I spent a large amount of time in systems that work directly with children and families. And in working with families, I learned how systems can either strengthen families or can be a source of stress and dysfunction. And for families, systems serve oftentimes as surrogates, right? Because families don't have that infrastructure. These systems, these programs, these resources are surrogates for them because they don't have that village of support. What I discovered is that with leaders who embody the character and values needed to transform and uplift families are the ones who make the most impact. Some of those values that I find to be really, really important are integrity, care, kindness, commitment, and intentionality. And of course, you embody all of that, Terry. Okay? From the moment I met Terry in my role as a resilience consultant, I could observe these qualities in her. The value that truly stood out to me was her integrity. And while integrity is its own value, it manifests itself in very tangible and behavioral ways through that person. And so a person of integrity that holds a place of leadership will speak of their system, their program, their organization in a very positive way. It's reflected in how they talk to their staff. It's reflected in how they talk to their students. And you hold that integrity so closely with how you treat not only your staff, but the students and their families. And I've had the pleasure to witness that. In her communication with me and others who serve as collaborators with Terry, you always hear her using strength-based language, providing insightful feedback, and when necessary, setting firm yet appropriately defined expectations that always come with guidance and support. And that's big when you are a leader, because you can place the expectation, you can place the requirement and what you need to see happen. But when you follow it through with guidance and you follow it through with support that is rooted in love, it makes the job not only easy to do, but enjoyable. So thank you for that. So there's a true balance in her leadership when you look at how Terry functions in her role. She also shows a lot of care and kindness to her staff, the students and their families, and she is never short of a warm smile or a pleasant dialogue. I love our talks. This care and kindness sets the tone for how staff also show up in the classroom and in their engagement with students and their families. And I've witnessed this in how even when there's registration for new families, the patience that your staff show, especially to those families who have, who are monolingual, who don't understand the process, who need extra help. Your staff show up and sit with them and explain things. And even though that's a small act, it's so big for people who are just simply trying to register their kids for preschool. You're going to be caring for their babies. And so just that simple action creates a sense of safety for parents who are trusting you with their most precious gift. The last two values that shine through brightly with Terry is her commitment and her intentionality. Terry has proven a committed steward over the amazing preschool program. She is always advocating for the needs of the children and for the needs and resources of her entire staff. She is committed to every child getting the academic and the behavioral support necessary to prepare them for the next stage of their educational and social development. Terry is also very intentional in the work she does for the preschool program, in conversations about what teachers are needing and the steps that she may need to take to present strong advocacy for those needs. She shows up prepared, organized, and ready to go to the mat for her preschool community. And I'll tell a quick little thing, because we joke about this. If you've ever been in Terry's office, the whiteboard. Yes, the whiteboard. I've never seen a whiteboard with so much detail. And it says so much about just how serious she is about that program, because there's a lot that she carries on her shoulders. And these are little babies who are coming in, their parents not knowing what's going to happen with their kiddos. And just to see you being meticulous and organized in your approach, it creates this level of just respect for the integrity you have behind the work that you do for these students and for this community. So I had to share that because I will never, ever forget the whiteboard. And so lastly, in addition to her great leadership skill sets, Terry also has led by example in her commitment to her own self-reflection, her interpersonal growth, her authenticity, her vulnerability, which inspires us all. She understands that building your own capacity as a leader not only strengthens your skill set, but uplifts the development and growth of your team. She has proven to have a deep commitment to the students, families, and communities she serves. She embodies so many amazing qualities. I can't even get to them all. But at the core of it, she leads with love. And you feel it every time you step into that campus at Latham or onto that campus at Therakoff. And just seeing you manage all of that and still have a smile and still be so gracious and courteous to everyone, it's beautiful to see. So you feel this, there's the essence of how Terry and her staff engage the community and the children and the families. It's just warmth and love all around. So this award, while much deserved, is also bittersweet, and I'm going to say, because after 30 years of service, Terry is beginning her next chapter as she retires from this position. So we want to, I know I'm trying not to, I'm not going to look at you, okay, I'll look this way. But it's bittersweet because she's done such amazing work, but whoever comes behind you has, I don't even know, the shoes, the coat, the handbag, they better get it right because you have left a legacy, a true legacy, with the preschool program. So with that being said, please, I want everyone to stand up for this amazing person, Miss Terry Kemper. I had to.
This is our award for education, outstanding educational leader, and commendation from the state senator. Thank you very much, Ted.
I'm not one for public speaking, but I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to share a few words. To the folks at Acknowledge Alliance, specifically Tracy, Pranam, and Cherie, thank you for creating a safe space for my staff and me to talk about our experiences, decompress, and renew ourselves, allowing us to continue our daily work. I also want to share how incredibly humbled and honored I am by tonight's recognition. While I've worked hard and invested my heart and soul into our preschool program, I must emphasize that it's always been a group effort. Over the last 30 years at the preschool program, I've worked with a phenomenal community of children, families, and staff who have made it possible for me to be the educator and leader I am today. They helped me to grow both personally and professionally, and they inspired me each and every day to provide and advocate for access to high-quality early learning opportunities and resources for those who need it the most. Most importantly, everything I've achieved in my career has been made possible by my family's unwavering commitment and sacrifices. I am truly grateful to have had a support system that landed me in a place and among people who have given me a profound sense of purpose and made it possible for me to be here with you this evening. Thank you.
Wow, so here I am again, and thank you so much to our amazing honorees, so inspiring. And now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce our board chair, Ms. Lowell. Welcome up, Ms.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. So what I hear is being seen, being valued, and being supported. If I haven't spoken to you directly, I want everyone to know I see you, you are valued, and you're important. Being supported. So when I asked the question before about being bullied, it was like a softball question. And I'll tell you the reason why I asked the question. And I'm going to try to compose myself. So I'm a grown woman, but I still remember in elementary school, I was the only black kid in class. And you know what was worse than being the only black kid? Is being the kid that was maybe had a little girth on her. She was being, I don't know where her parents were, but she was being raised by her grandmother. And her name was Polly Oxberger. And the whole class would always call her Ox. And what you had said is being supported and heard. The teacher in that class did not intervene with the other students. And when I asked the question, was the person who did the bullying, were they being bullied too? So there I was in elementary school saying, I'm the only black kid. I don't want to be bullied. And so that really hit really hard. Because even now, when I go home to visit my family, I often wonder, whatever happened to bullying? So that's my story. All right, moving on. So when Sharon says, no money, no mission, we laugh about that, but let's face it. We do need the funding. But not only that, What did she say? Your gift of service. Because no matter what you do for us, you are helping society. Well, what does that mean? Because those kids that come to your organization, those kids that are being served by Acknowledge Alliance, they're going to grow up, be adults, be in society, and they can help society. Because you know what? Sometimes your pain is your purpose. We just saw on the panel where they talked about their life and lived experience. And as you said, the kids connect when they hear your lived experience. So, like I said, you are seen, you are valued, you're supported. No money, no mission. Help Acknowledge Alliance out, all right? Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you for sharing that personal story. We don't realize sometimes emotion comes over us. We've all been there. We've all been students, and there are a lot of educators in the room. And I just feel like my cup is very full, and I just want to thank everyone for being here because it's really restored my faith. As I said, times are difficult. We've gone through a lot of difficult things, and now I feel like I can have hope. And I want to thank our panelists, Leo, Candace, our educators of the year, all of you. You're doing such amazing work. Thank you so much. And it's just moved me to be here, and I just feel like I'm a different person, and I can get up tomorrow and push through another day. So and thank you so much to our staff, Tracy and Sherry, for your beautiful introductions, and all of the emotion that everybody felt. It's just extremely inspiring. So I hope you all have a beautiful night. We do have a few more minutes if people want to have some more snacks or things. We do have to exit the room at 8, but I hope you stay around and talk and network. And please do. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a beautiful evening. Thank you. Thank you.